Good morning. Come on in. Hey, invite your friends, but come on in. We're going to get started here in just a second. I want everybody to come on in here this morning. I want to talk a little bit about the season. So get this out just a little bit. Good morning, Laura. Glad you're here. Good morning, Janine. See you've jumped in here already this morning. Good morning, Nat. Glad you're here too, brother. All right. I'm not going to jump out to all the same groups that I normally pump it into. So if you're going to put it out to some of your friends, if you're going to share the season, share it today. Good morning, Laura, and Marvelous Monday, Nat. You bet. Hi, it is Monday, December the 23rd, 2019. And this is going to be a fantastic day. That's the way I choose to have my day be. Hi, I'm Brad Smith. I am your host for Chainbreakers 365 Live and the creator of hashtag Uplift and Rise. I want to welcome you here today. I want to talk about, have you noticed a difference? Have you noticed a difference this season? Have you noticed a difference in the way that people are interacting, in the way that people are communicating with each other, in the way that people are talking to each other, in the way that we just kind of run into each other in the stores? I don't know about you, but I certainly noticed a difference. There seems to be a little more pep in people's step. I've had a lot more people turn around and stop, strangers, and stop and just reach out and wish me Merry Christmas. I've heard very few trying to figure out how to be politically correct and say Happy Holidays. Not that it would matter to me if it did. Not even if somebody wished me Happy Kwanzaa or Happy Hanukkah. Hanukkah was yesterday. Morning, Mike. Glad you're here. You know, all of us are celebrating in some ways different seasons this year, and that's all right. See, that's the nice thing about our country, is we can celebrate our differences. But for some reason, people seem to be more unashamed to be able to just reach out and say, Merry Christmas. Now, maybe it's because that's the way it is. That's the way I'm going to frame for it to be. But maybe it's also because that's where I've been. I've been out there trying to do that. I've been trying to make a difference. I've been wishing people Merry Christmas. I've been trying to bring a little bit of pep, a little bit of positive attitude into the places that I go and where I'm trying to be. And it's interesting, and maybe it's because I'm doing my morning gratitude. Maybe it's because I've had that more positive viewpoint and had a positive outlook, and I'm seeing and noticing it more. But I'm noticing people saying Merry Christmas. My children, my parents, my family, immediate family kind of got together this last weekend, and we were all there except for my son. We were there this last weekend, kind of having our family Christmas together. But it just seemed like everybody was in a little more of a positive mood, a little more positive, upbeat. And maybe that's the way it was. And maybe it was my framework. Maybe that's the way I chose to see it. Maybe that's the way I chose to accept it. And whether it is or whether it isn't what actually happened, it's still the way it was what my experience was. It was what I took in, and it was the memory that I will hold, because that's the way I chose for my holiday to be. You see, my friends, when we choose those positive attitudes, when we choose those positive lifestyles, when we choose those positive ways of being, we start receiving things in a much more positive manner also. We start perceiving the environment around us, the people around us, the interactions around us, we perceive them in a much more positive outlook, because that's where we are. You see, we create our own filters. We create our own viewpoints. We create our day. So much the same way as I say every morning, this is going to be a fantastic day, because that's the way I choose for my day to be. When you choose to have that positive mindset, when you choose to have that positive framework for your mind, for your day, when you choose that you're going to have a Merry Christmas, that's the way you start noticing. That's the things you start noticing. That's the attitude. But you know, sometimes you walk by a perfect stranger who you've never seen in your life, and now they're reaching out to you and saying Merry Christmas. Now, maybe it's because things are changing for them too. Maybe it's because you noticed, you just noticed what they said, and maybe you wouldn't even have noticed because you'd walked right by before. Maybe it's because you had a smile on your face and they perceived you in a much more positive manner, positive way of being. You see, where the attitudes that we have, what we convey, and the way we interact with people is contagious, both positively and negatively. The way we perceive and the way we accept things is contagious, both positively and negatively. You see, our brains do not see. Our brains do not hear. Our brains do not smell. Our brains do not taste. Our brains take in all of the stimuli that's out there, that comes from our eyes, comes from our ears, comes from our taste buds, comes from our nose, and it interprets things. It interprets all of these signals. And the way you choose for your brain to filter and accept it is the way your day will become. It is the day your day will be. We can choose to have those filters of all that stimuli and accept it in a positive manner, or we can accept it in a negative one. It is still your choice of how you want to perceive it. What is reality? If there is a traffic accident that happens at the corner and there's a whole lot of witnesses, but you go around and ask everybody what happened, you'll find that you have a whole lot of different viewpoints. You have a whole lot of different things that people saw. You have a whole lot of things that people heard that they took in. Somebody will notice something a little bit differently every time you ask somebody else. You see, we all take those in based on our own stimuli, and we interpret them. We filter in what we want to receive, and we filter out what we don't want to take in. So, my friends, as we get ready for this new year, as we get ready for the holiday, as we get ready to prepare for 2020 and what it's going to be for you, we have the opportunity to set the framework for what our day is going to be, to set the framework for how our holiday is going to be, to set the framework for how our next year is going to be. If you look back right now, as you prepare for 2020, right? As you look back to see what you've done for 2019, how do you filter the way your year has been? Do you filter it in the things that you remember positively? Do you filter it in the way you interpret things from the way your year has been negatively? Or are you critically looking at it both positively and negatively and trying to give an unbiased opinion? It is still your year. It is still what happened to you, and it is still the way you have interpreted it. So can you totally be unbiased? Can you totally say that's the way it really was? If you ask somebody that went through the exact same experience at the same time, did they perceive it the same way? Maybe it's time we actually take time to ask our spouse, what happened here? Wait, how did you see this? What did you think? What did you feel? What did you see? What did you take from that? Maybe we need to ask somebody at work, when in that work environment, if those things happened at work, and ask them there. Maybe we need to ask, how has this change affected you at church, in your community, in your social circles, in your community activities, the way you spend your time and the way you give? Maybe we need to take in those other visions, those other interpretations, those other filtrations, and see it from another person's viewpoint. If you want an honest overall interpretation of the way you've been or way your year has been for 2020, ask somebody else. Don't just take it in on your own. And I said that wrong. The way your year has been for 2019, as you prepare for 2020, Ask somebody else the way they interpret your last year, the way they see things have been. Sometimes you'll find that maybe it's been a lot more positive than what you remembered. Maybe what you'll find is it's been maybe a little bit more negative than what you necessarily remembered. And maybe you get a whole lot of mix of different viewpoints. But we won't know that unless we ask. I had a friend that wanted to really be able to take his business from where it was in that given year and catapult it for the next year. So rather than try and put all of it out there for himself, or ask the way his managers would necessarily work with him to try to create it and help set those goals through his viewpoint, he asked a very interesting question. The question was, if I resign today and turn the business over to you, what is the first thing that you would change? What is the first thing that you would do differently? What is the first thing that you would do? How would you change this business for the next year if it was totally up to you and I was no longer in the picture? I'm not leaving, don't get me wrong, but if it was in your lap, what would you do? And what he got was some really interesting answers. What he got was some viewpoints that he'd never considered. What he got is he found out in some cases he was standing in the way from something getting ready to explode over in this other area that he was completely blind to. Sometimes it takes removing ourselves from the equation to really be able to see and interpret something in a different viewpoint. As we prepare to get ready for the holidays, be open to other viewpoints. Be open to other perspectives. Be open to somebody else's filtration. As we prepare to review our year of 2019 and set our goals for 2020, ask around. Ask others, how have I been for 2019? What kind of husband, what kind of father, what kind of friend, what kind of parishioner at church, what kind of citizen have I been? What kind of friend have I been? If you really want to know where you can grow in 2020, ask those others that you interact with. What you may find, maybe it's really something great, fantastic. You might find some areas that you can improve that you might not necessarily want to hear. But if you really want to grow this next year, ask around. Ask your friends, ask your family, ask your spouse, ask your pastor. What is it that I can do to be a better friend, a better Christian, a better parent, a better spouse? What can I do to make a difference in your life this next year? My friends, I want to thank you so much for being here. Some people jumped in late. Christy, I want to thank you for being here. Wanda, thanks so much for being here today. But thanks for coming in and being part of this. We will have a Chainbreakers 365 tomorrow morning on Christmas Eve, but I'm going to take Christmas Day off. And I'll do the same thing on New Year's Eve. I'll be here and take off on New Year's Day. But my friends, join us tomorrow. Join us for Chainbreakers 365 Live at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on Facebook Live. If you have trouble catching us live, you can always see us in replay. You can go to Chainbreakers 365 on YouTube, or you can go to chainbreakers365.com. But catch us live. It's always the best way. Thanks so much, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow for Chainbreakers 365 Live. Thanks so much, and we'll see you then. Bye now.